Okay. Welcome to the Omnistudio Masterclass, guys. It's an introduction to Omnistudio wherein I would talk about or uh, make you understand on what is Omnistudio, why it was brought into into existence, and how it has kind of become a very hot technology data pack on top of Salesforce these days, okay, and how it can help you kind of uh, add value to your job profiles or to your overall skill set these days, okay. So that's what we are going to talk about today, okay. So to begin with, I would ask that does anyone know why Omni Studio was actually created? Why did it come into existence at all? If anyone wants to kind of answer that. Okay. I would, what happened initially when the Salesforce was actually launched, right? So they started with the basic Sales Cloud features wherein we had enabled the sales agents to perform their sales related activities on, say, lead management, account management, the basic ones, the opportunity management, and even the product management was there. But then that was a very basic, and I would say there was a very flat structure on the product management. Plus, uh, when we talk about, I mean, we did have quotes and all, even orders, but those were like the basic functionalities which were available. So as the industry grew over that period of time, right? And as Salesforce grew over the period of time, the app exchange, the marketplace, which is the marketplace, became very hot, right? And the ISVs which are actually involved in that, so they started kind of having a feeling that there are missing blocks in Salesforce which are required to be covered. One from the business perspective, the other from the business. When I say business, that's the business processes perspective. Second, from the industry flavors perspective. So every industry, as you know, like be it telco, be it a healthcare firm, or be it a financial firm, everyone has a different sales process, different service management processes, right? So those end-to-end processes were missing. And the third, which is the most important, which was the most important need of that hour, was to have a complex bundling and the product structure to be utilized and across the industries. So those were the three things primarily that were required at that point in time. And that is where Velocity came up with this idea of building their own platform on top of, or building their own data pack on top of Salesforce to uh, to enable the industries to have their ready flavors and ready processes as such. Okay, so I'll just quickly reshare my screen. Okay, I'll just quickly share again. Just bear with me. Yeah, I hope you're able to see my screen again, right? So the three things that I talked about was one is the requirement to launch Velocity or the Omnistudio was to get the business processes, get the industry flavors, and get the complex product structuring or bundling. Okay, so those were the basic needs that had come up to kind of use this or build the Omnistudio. Okay. Now, as we grew over the time, right, it was initially known as Velocity, and as you might be knowing, in last uh, this company was actually acquired by Salesforce, and now then it was renamed to Salesforce Industries, and then now it is known as Omnistudio. Okay. Now, what essentially is Omnistudio is what I would like to draw your attention towards. That I hope you understand the concepts of CPQ, right? So if not, I'll just briefly talk about that as well. So CPQ is nothing but configure, price, and quote. Okay. So as part of sales process, right? The sales process primarily exists because you try to sell a product of yours. Okay. And this product cannot be, or I mean, any product, say whether it's a simple phone or even a simple glass or a pen, it cannot be sold without a purpose and without a configuration or the requirement as per the customer. Okay, so that's what we call it as configure. So configuring the product to your needs. So for example, for an iPhone or for any phone, I mean, you would need a specific color, red, yellow, or green, right? Then you will need some specifications like what is the RAM of that? Okay, what is the processor of it? Right. So these are certain basic requirements that you would need, and these are to be kind of configured per customer requirement. So that is what is known as configure. Price is to basically price against these configurations. So sometimes some brands launch their phones with a specific color and which has a special price to it, right? Then the processor, whether it's an Intel i7, i5, whatever, for in case for a laptop or MacBook, if it's an Intel or an M2 processor. So based on that, the prices would vary, right? So once the customer selects their appropriate configuration, a pricing is calculated on top of that, and then a quote is generated. Okay, so that is what actually your configure price quote is. And today, almost all of the industries use this concept because the need of the hour is to get the most appropriate product for the customer's need. Okay, so that's what CPQ is, and this is what actually Omnistudio offers. Okay, so you have Omnistudio. It has few parts to it. Okay, so we call it as EPC, which is your enterprise product catalog. Okay, then you have the CPQ, which is configure, price, and quote, as I just explained. And then you have the order management. So these are the three essential parts of Omnistudio that are there, and these are kind of customized as per pre-customized, I would say, pre-customized and pre-ready as per the industry needs. Okay, but this is the basic of Omnistudio which is required. And to top it up, there are some developer elements. Right. So to top up and to enable all these functionalities of EPC, CPQ, and OM, we have the developer elements in Omnistudio. which are basically for the guided flows. You have Omniscripts. Okay, for the DML actions, you have the data raptors. Okay, for making the server calls, or kind of combining these functionalities, and you have an encapsulated class kind of a thing, which we call as integration procedures. Okay, and then for display purpose, we have the cards to show. Okay, and now this is kind of replaceable with LWC as well. So our knowledge of Salesforce doesn't go anywhere when we are learning Omnistudio. It stays there, and it is pretty much required in the due course of development work that you're doing on Omnistudio. Okay, so these are the basic elements of Omnistudio per se. Okay, now coming to the fact that how does Omnistudio help a client, right? How does it help a client or a company who is engaged in selling some product? They are sellers of some product. Okay, how does it help them? So Omnistudio comes with multiple flavors on the industry aspects. So these are primarily on the communications. Okay, then you have media and entertainment. Then you have energy and utils. You have health. You have public sector. And then you have the financial sector, which is for the insurance and other business. Okay, so these are the industry flavors that come with Velocity or Omnistudio. And what it basically comes with, you have predefined processes which are actually compliant to standards. Okay, so when I say compliant to standards, so in case of communications, actually, it is compliant to TM forum processes, and it follows the ETOM and SID architecture. Okay, so if you go and check the processes which are there in communications per se in Velocity, so you have, for example, a new order journey, or you have a modified journey. I'm talking in layman terms right now, but modified journeys, these are known as MACD journeys that you might have heard. So for each and everything, there is a step which is defined. In fact, for revenue generation or things like that, so there are like industry standards defined for every process, every single process. Okay, and they are kind of drawn to level 4, actually, level 4 or 5. Okay, so to this level, actually, Velocity or Omnistudio actually gives you the processes adherence. So this is the primary reason why it is actually beneficial for a company or for any industry to use Salesforce Industries or Velocity or Omnistudio. Okay. Now let's talk about how it is beneficial for the developers or architects. How is it beneficial for them? So as I spoke about the elements which are there, right? The integration procedures, the data raptors, the Omniscripts, and the cards. Okay. So these are the key elements which are there. And what happens basically when you are talking about these layers, right? So these are distributed across 3 different layers, actually. So you have a presentation layer, I'm talking again in the layman terms so that it's easy to understand. There is a data manipulation layer, and then there is a lower service layer, which is there. Okay, so these are the three main layers in which velocity, or I would say any architecture, is kind of mostly distributed, and same way it's for the velocity. And at every layer, you get the set of elements defined for it. So for the presentation layer, you have the cards and the components to be there. You have and the omniscripts, which help you at the presentation layer. You have the data raptors, which help you with the data manipulation layer. And then you have the service layer, where the integration procedures help you to communicate with the downstream database, whether it's a Salesforce database or it's an external database. So when I say external, you can make your remote calls easily by just calling them from your data raptors and the integration procedures. Okay, so that's what actually is the key benefit that the developers and the architects get. Now, I'll just briefly look at how you can I'll just briefly look at an example of how it can benefit you as a developer. Okay. Yeah. So for example, you have to build a type ahead component, right? Type ahead search, which is there. So Omnistudio tools, actually within an OmniScript, you get a ready component for type ahead called as type ahead component that enables you the search directly. You don't have to create any other backend and front-end logic for that. Whereas when you go about creating the custom tools for that, right, you have to create the front-end and the backend and the controller level code for that. Then again, if you have to visually group some components, so there's a component called as block component, which helps you combine these similar group of components, or the way you want to group them. And easily you can call the remote action call out to call the external services. Whereas in when you go with the custom tools or the standard Salesforce tools, you have to build an LWC or a UI element to display that data, and have a set of whole set of data handlers and the API modules and controllers to create a wrapper and then call up. So it saves a lot of energy in analyzing how and designing how you would build using these tools. And it also saves you of the time that you take to build that. So your estimation at least is almost like 50% when you are actually using the OmniStudio tools as such. Okay, so that's the primary benefit of using the Salesforce tools. The OmniStudio tools. Okay. So let's now focus on some of the examples that you can use, right? So far, anyone has any question? Okay, I take that as a no. So when we talk about communications and media domain, right? So let's take that as an example for understanding that how actually OmniStudio helps us. Now, if you look at this, right? So what I have mentioned here is that there are like different customer segments that you have. B2B, SME, you have B2C, you have wholesale, correct? Here, when we start building our application in OmniStudio, right? So what we need to understand is that what customer segment are we targeting at? What are the different business processes that are required to understand this? And what is the customer 360-degree view that would be required? Does it comply to the standards? So as I said, it does comply to like TM Forum. And then how are the other actions handled when you talk about the end-to-end business process? So how is my fulfillment done? How is my inventory managed? And how do I see that on my CRM application? Okay. And how is the service management and monitoring done at the back end? But how is it relevant for me when I'm creating a business process in Omnistudio? So having said all of that, what velocity actually helps us is that you have a business process, right? Now, this business process is nothing but you can create a guided journey in using your Omni scripts, right? For customer 360-degree view, you get out of the box 360-degree view components, which is a combination of the LWC components and the cards, and it shows the data for every customer fetched from the backend. So details like the order status, the case status of that, and the recent activities or actions taken by the service agents or the sales agents, any interactions which have happened with the customer. So all those is actually visible on the customer 360-degree view. And then these are basically nothing but some sort of backend activities that you do. Okay. So for an example, if you have a broadband connectivity happening at your home, right? So typically the installation guys come to your place and they put up the router, they place the last, they draw the last mile of the wire from your building top, right? And draw a cable to your router, right? And then after like 15-20 minutes, you see your service get activated. So how does that happen is basically there is a request sent to the activation system, which enables it from the nearest subscriber station and your router gets activated. So, but that information needs to be keyed in back to the CRM. And that's what everything is kind of, I would say, collaborated and processed by CRM and consolidated at one place. So that is what actually it helps you do with the help of OmniScripts and the processes. So there was a question on the chat whether CPQ is a part of Omnistudio. Yes. So as I told you, we have three parts of it. We have EPC, which is the enterprise product catalog, where you maintain all the products. So if we have an example of mobile plans, or you have multiple handphones or handsets, so you maintain a product list for that. So for example, you have a 5 gigs plan, data plan, you have a monthly plan, you have an annual plan. So all those are nothing but are my products and offers, which are actually maintained in my enterprise product catalog. The second part to it is the CPQ, which manages the end-to-end process right from the opportunity to quote creation and creating an order, capturing an order. So that is your CPQ part, where you manage the process of handle your quotes actually. And the third part is the order management, which actually kind of talks to these systems and get you the data on the recent status of where your order is lying. Understood? So those are the key elements that you are there. Yeah. So here is basically role of velocity. And as you see, you have EPC to manage your products, customer 360-degree views to see the customer information. Then you have CPQ and guided journeys to for the sales process. And you have order capture and as an order object, which is enabled for you to do the order capture. And you have a quote to order settings that you can do and manage your quote to order creation and conversion, and order management for doing the order orchestration. And then the last thing, which, I mean, this is specific to the communications industries, where we have the TM forum open APIs, for which there are process libraries available in Velocity. So when I say process libraries, I think that's a new term for you now again, okay, which I've introduced. So process libraries is nothing but the combination of the data elements that I just spoke about, the basic design elements which are there. So for a process, there will be a combination of Omni scripts, integration procedures, and your data raptors and the cards, which combined make up a process library. We'll just have a look at that example as well. So yeah, so this is an example of the product model that you can kind of create in your EPC. So you have a postpaid offer, which we kind of refer to the base offer. And then you have the product specifications which are there. Okay. You have data, voice, SIM card, phone number. So these are all the different products which are kind of combined and taken into this offer. Why we have done this segregation of the products, as we have kept it as generalized as possible, right? So that I can create multiple offers using these products and I don't have to create another set of products. So that is the reason that we have like generalized kind of product specs created. And then these are the attributes. So for a SIM card, for example, you have IMSI and then you have type. Okay, so whether your SIM is actually an eSIM, it's a standard SIM, it's a micro, or it's a nano SIM. That's what actually is the attribute for your SIM card. Okay, and then comes the pricing part of it. So based on the type of SIM card, your one-time charges may vary. And based on your phone number, Mr. and I mean, there's a recurring charge that you want to levy, right? There's a recurring charge that you want to levy for a voice usage, and there could be like one-time charge on data, or it could be like top-up plans that you can have on data. So all of that is configurable as product in enterprise product catalog within Omnistudio. So that is an example of the enterprise product catalog. Now let's look at, okay, before we go there, let's look at a quick video as to how you can configure your products in Omnistudio. So before we go to the video, anyone has any questions? Yes, you can speak up so that it's faster for me to reply. Okay, all right. So let's look at this video. Okay. So, yeah, we were just looking at the product had been configured, and we were just looking at that how you add it to the cart and configure it. Okay, so I'll just reverse it for a few seconds. Okay. So here I search for the Google product and then configure the value for it. That's how you actually configure your products, right? So the key steps here that I used actually to configure that Google Cloud Platform product was to create the foundation. When I say creating the attributes, pick list, and attribute categories, and all those things, and creating the object type, and then attaching the attributes to respective object types, creating the layouts, and then layout as in that what attributes you want to see, what fields you want to see on the product, create the product, and then assign the product rules and pricing rules. So that's what I actually did while doing that configuration. Now let's quickly look at one of the business processes that I had been so far talking about. And there was a question on the chat that can Velocity or Omnistudio be used for both B2B and B2C? So the answer is yes. Both, you can use it for both B2B and B2C. Here I'm taking an example of B2B mobile order, but even for B2C, you can configure simple plans and simple simple products and then build a business flow. There could be basic differences in the processes because obviously when you handle a retail customer versus you handle a enterprise customer, the process entirely changes. As for a retail customer, the cycles are very short-lived, whereas for an enterprise customer, it's a long-running sales and quoting process. Okay, so here if you see the example, right, so what you do is actually as a customer, you initiate your B2B ordering, mobile ordering. Then as part of your Velocity or the Omnistudio systems, right, you determine the account ID, then we create an order, then the agent interacts with the customer and selects a plan and the country to which it is required. Then you trigger the compatibility rules, you check for the available plan tariff, and then you accordingly uh, uh, kind of create a order, and then you finally add the required services and submit the order. So these are steps which kind of you go to and fro uh, by the agent in the system, okay, in the Velocity system. So I speak to the customer, I ask them whether for which country are they looking at, for what kind of data plan would they want, what type of tariff would they want, and then they select the required handset or the plan to the cart, and then we do the validations which we configured as part of the rules in the products, the product rules and the pricing rules, and then we finally create an order and submit. Okay, and then this goes to the downstream system for doing the fulfillment, as I explained previously. So these are the business flows, and I mean, this is how you manage your processes and come inbuilt. Maybe we can just have a quick look at that from opportunity, how we create a quote and how we create an order. So the opportunity process was already there, and we are just creating a new quote. So account opportunity existed, and now we are creating the quote. So I've created a quote, and then now I will configure the quote by adding the product to it. So these are different other quotes which are available. I'll just go to one of these quotes to show you how we can configure it. You click on configure, and it loads the cart. On the cart, you can select the products that you may want to add. You can also search for it. So yeah, the recording will be published. So let's just have a look at this. Okay. So we've added the products. Now you can also configure the attributes which are there. So for example, the RAM that I want, the color of the headset I want. Accordingly, my price will get updated, right? So if you see, I've put the 2 quantity of iPhone 12 and that's why the price has gone up. Okay. Now I can just quickly, yeah, let's have a look at that, how it shows up in the Salesforce. So basically for the quote, the items that we have added, the product that we have added, gets added as the quote line item. So you see the quote line item added there, right? iPhone 12 with the quantity 2 and a plan. I can directly create an order from here, but I'll go back to my cart and then submit the order. So I create an order from there. So this basically at the back end, there is a code to order object mapping which is available, which maps the required fields to it, and then it converts it into an order. So now my order is created, and if I go to the order object, I will be able to see the quote line items getting converted into the order line items and the code getting converted to an order. So you just see there, so that's the top one. And if you see the order history, you see the details, you will find the order line items getting created there. Okay, so that's what the configurations actually give you handy. I mean, it gives you the handy configurations for Salesforce, for Velocity, and it helps you kind of build your end-to-end business process around the product configuration, around the CPQ and all. Okay. So that's a brief on how you can kind of configure your system to enable your CPQ and boost your sales processes actually. Anyone has any questions so far? Okay, so now let's talk about how you can learn Velocity, how you can learn Omnistudio. Okay, it's fairly simple these days now. After the merger that has happened, right? The Salesforce is actually bringing most of the things on their trailhead. So simply, if you go to the trailhead and you go to the certifications part, okay, I'll just log in. If you go to the certifications part and you go to the Omnistudio, right? So in there, you will be able to find a trail mix which is there for the Omnistudio developer. For the Omnistudio CPQ, those are still charged items. So those are not available outside the trailhead. You have to be a partner of Salesforce to get access to the CPQ trainings and all. Okay. So if I go here, Omnistudio developer, and check this trail mix. So this is the trail mix that actually helps you understand the data elements and the design elements which are there for Omnistudio, right? So that's where you can learn. I'll just send it to everyone. Yeah. I've just shared the link for the trail mix that you can go to start learning the basics of the Omnistudio developer. Okay. So anyone has any questions on this? And you can ask now and I'm happy to answer.
Hello, ma'am. I just wanted to know for a developer, what are the key topics to learn in Omnistudio? Like there's flex card and data raptors, something like that.
Yeah. So you have to learn all of those data raptors. See, because Sumit, it is a combination that works together.
Yeah,
So when we say combination, so you have to learn the cards, which is the UI element of it, and you have the LWC components also, which help you build the UI part of it. Then the data raptors actually help you with enabling your system with the kind of creating loading the data from sales and to the Salesforce objects, fetching the data from external systems and kind of mapping it, transforming the data and then presenting it in that. So you have to learn data raptors, you have to learn integration procedures, you have to learn cards, you also have to learn the Omnistudio. Sorry.
yeah. Apart from those four, is there anything else which we need to learn in it?
So as a hardcore developer, that is the thing. But if you are specializing into a domain, right? So as a domain expert or say as a configurator on EPC, you will have to learn one industry flavor of it. Okay. So if you are working
Okay,
on the telco domain, you have to learn the telco CPQ. If you are on the CPQ and EPC. If you like to be on the order management side, you can learn only the order management part as well. So it depends on what specialization you want to go in for.
got it. As per the industry.
Correct. So I have developers who are actually specialist into EPC configurations. So they primarily work on the EPC configurations, which is the product catalog configurations, and they know everything about that. Then I have some developers who are audio management specialists. So these developers basically are they know how to create a technical product, what technical product can be reused, and what are the different fulfillment requests that need to be created, how you can club and how you can interact with the downstream systems.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you have to choose what you want to actually learn in that. And I recommend most of the times that you go for one domain specialization at least, because that adds a lot of value to your CV. It adds a lot of value to your own profile.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if I want to learn CPQ, for
Hmm.
that it is mandatory to learn velocity.
So CPQ are of different types which are available, right? So you have Salesforce CPQ, you have Active CPQ, you have CloudSense, you have Velocity or OmniStudio.
Okay, so we can directly jump on CPQ, right, ma'am?
You can learn one of these tools. So Shubham, I mean, just to clarify, these are actually different type of tools which are there. So Salesforce CPQ was primarily built by Salesforce themselves. It was a company called as Steelbrick who had built that initially, and now it is part of Salesforce. Aptus is done by Aptus CPQ. So these come with certain different uh, ways of managing your CPQ and your product catalogs. So you can specialize in one or multiple CPQs actually.
Okay.
You get that. So either you are a velocity CPQ expert or an Aptus CPQ expert, or to be both, you have to spend that much time in learning both the tools.
Okay.
So to take it, to state it in a simpler manner, these are nothing but top-up data packs built on Salesforce. And these are like tools to enable your CPQ processes. And you have to, as a tool, you have to learn these tools to be able to configure them.
Right, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. Guys, just a request. I have pasted the feedback link on the chat. So if you can put your comments there, that will be very helpful for us to understand. And then there is the next question as well. Okay, what topics would you want us to cover in the next session? So if you can please feed in for both the questions, that will be helpful for us to plan our next masterclass. And from this feedback, we'll be able to take it ahead. Okay. And another thing is that we will have a training session for Omnistudio starting very soon, which I'll be posting on the LinkedIn so that you guys can take the benefit of it and increase your skill set in the CPQ and the developer domain in Omnistudio. So we'll be posting the next steps on the trainings on the LinkedIn. So you can follow us and get updates on when the next training start. But to get started, your trailhead mix, which I've given, is equally good. And you can reach out to us for any help that you need. Okay. Okay, I'll just stay on for a minute. If you can just put your feedback to us, and that will help us. And hopefully you've all filled up your attendance sheet, so we understand that you were there. Okay, that's a very good question, Rasoon. When should we ask to have a client to go for Omnistudio? Okay, so that is actually where our consulting hat we have to wear and see the requirements of the customer. Okay, so if there is if your customer is lot into processes, your sales and service processes, and there are like multiple business processes that they're handling within the journeys, right? So you have new orders, you have MACDs and all, and you have to see, you have to make a difference on how quickly can you go to the market, and how much time do you have and how much investment you want to make, right? So based on those parameters, you can decide whether you want to go for Omnistudio and when you want to go for Omnistudio. And it's not just Omnistudio. When we are actually consulting to our clients, right, we should also see to the other CPQ elements and the licensing cost of it and the long-term benefits of it. So whether a customer should go for a Salesforce CPQ or whether they should go for an Omnistudio CPQ is a call that we need to kind of understand and take. So usually for the industries, right? So for example, if you have a manufacturing industry there or their Salesforce CPQ is kind of more suitable than the Omnistudio CPQs, because there the business processes are a bit simpler. The product configurations are a bit simpler as compared to the these specific industry, these like telco, media, and energy utils, and also where actually velocity has an edge over the other CPQ. So you need to compare. There's no right answer to it, I would say, and there is no wrong answer to it. You have to compare and make a call, and see what is your go-to market, how much time do you have, and how much investment the customer is ready to make. Does that answer your question, Prasoon?
Yeah, thank you. I got it. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for joining in and bearing with me on the technical issues as well, and staying on for the session. We'll meet soon again in the next masterclass in next month, and let's collaborate further to see how we can help each other. Okay. Thanks everyone. Anuj, you want to add anything?
Yeah. So please do join that community group that we have created. We'll be sharing some. We will be soon having a masterclass on LWC as well. Good to collaborate together and learn new things on Salesforce and Velocity. Thank you all.
Okay. Thanks everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you.